Money Room. We appreciate y'all for tapping in. This is an educational real estate investing platform where we're going to share with the world our years of experience, knowledge, and research of us closing a bunch of deals with various real estate investing strategies where we've been successful and made a lot of money. With the purpose of this podcast is for others to learn from us and be just as successful or even more successful than us with real estate investing.
All right, what's going on, fellas?
My bro, how you feeling?
I'm good, bro. All right, real quick, I get to the intros. Welcome everyone. I'm Ant. My primary real estate investment strategy is the BRRRR strategy.
I'm Molly. My primary real estate strategy is wholesaling real estate.
I'm Lem, and my primary real estate investing strategy is mobile home investing.
All right, so on today's episode, right, we're going to get into, I guess, a new segment that we're going to introduce on the pod, right? New money.
New money.
I like
Right?
that. I like
We
that.
still in the field.
Right. So for this segment that we're gonna include on future episodes, New Money is gonna highlight deals that we're currently working on or deals that we have closed prior to us recording. So I guess Molly, you wanna touch on
Yeah, I got
in
a
the
couple
field?
I want to talk about, but I'll talk about one of them right now.
All right.
Most recent one, one that I just closed in the pipeline was from an agent. So it was an
Right.
agent referral. A lot of agents still send me deals all the time, and why they do this is like if the house is messed up, they know on the market it's gonna go for 60,000. You feel me? 3% of that is no money,
Right.
and it's not worth taking pictures, doing showings, and the work of doing that. You know what I mean? So a lot of realtors, they come to me when they get a house like that. It just make their job easier, and then I'm gonna give them 1,000, 1,500 off the HUD, and I mean however they collect their money, how they collect it. But
So you paying in those transactions, you're paying the agent a referral fee, and then they still make their 3% on the top.
Nah. So like say they get a lead in their pipeline, they'll call me like, yo, Jamal, I got a deal, that you possibly can work, and I'll do all the legwork for them. You know
Got
what I
it.
mean? So I'll still make sure if it makes sense, depending on how much I make on the deal, that they get paid at the end of the day. Whatever we agree on,
So they get the benefit, I guess, of making money without having
without
to do
doing
work.
anything.
All right, for
On a
just making
deal
phone
that they're
call.
not gonna make any money on anyway after they broker take their fee. They make $1,000, they broker take 30%. You know what I mean? So this deal, I did a bunch of deals with this agent. It was a process to get this one done. I found a buyer real quick like that, but it was some title issues. We had to do a probate, which
Okay.
mean like had to raise the estate because somebody passed away. So it's that take time. You know what I mean? So the buyer that I originally had for this deal, he backed out. So I had to help out with the probate, and my guy Sean do all my probate work, and he charged less than what lawyers charge. Lawyers charge a nice little bag to do any probate work out here. So I actually, hit up Sean. He did my probate work for me for this one, and then I had to find a new buyer for this one as well. I found them. I email blasted out, but then I actually found this buyer on Facebook. And we got the deal done. And so it took like 2 months to do everything with the probate and different other title issues, things like that. Sent the agent their money, and everybody was happy at the end of the day. But that's kind of, how I navigated through that most recent deal that I just closed on. I think that was Friday.
Okay, so like I guess if you don't mind sharing, I guess what the numbers look like. What did you negotiate?
Right.
purchase
All
price?
right. So this one was I negotiated it cheap. They wanted like 85.
Okay.
I negotiated it down to 68. I sold it for 79, something like that. I gave an agent 1,500. And then that was kind of it. Like the seller, Sean got paid on the HUD for his probate work that he did. So the seller didn't have to come out of pocket, no money. Typically a lawyer gonna want their money up front to do any probate work. So they charge you like 2,500, 5,000 sometimes. They didn't have to come out of pocket. Everybody got paid on the HUD except for what I had to get an agent. And yeah, bro, that was it. Easy deal for the agent. They didn't do any work. I marketed it. I locked it up. They just called me and said I got a deal, connected me with the seller, and that's how we got the job done, bro.
How long did it take you, I guess, to close from
This
start
one
to
was
end?
about 2 months, and it was because of the probate issue. When you do probate, you gotta go to the city. You gotta go to register of wills. They're gonna ask you a bunch of questions. Who
Right.
passed away? When was this? You got a death cert. So that whole process, after you done that, you gotta they're gonna give you like something called letters of administration for that person so they could legally sell that property. So we had to wait all of that for that paperwork, get the letters of admin, send that the title, so now that person could legally sell that property. You
Right.
know what I mean? So it was a whole process, but we got it done. And like I said, the agent, all that work, it wouldn't have been worth walking away with $700
Right, right.
to do all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
So with probate, is that something that's common that you have to, overcome a lot with wholesaling?
Bro, probate, I get a nice little bag from probate deals, and a lot of wholesalers don't want to do them because
Right.
it require a lot of time sometimes. Like if somebody passed away and they got 7 kids, now you gotta contact all of them to find out if they want any parts of the property. You know what I mean? If they sell a house, they got to get divided between them. Like it's a whole process. It's a lot of talking with a bunch of different parties. Sometimes it's a lot of money on the end of it, but
sure.
it's a lot of work with it. So sometimes I get a lot of probates that come through. It's not like I'm targeting them, but it is a lot of money on there. But that process, like that turnaround on money with wholesalers is typically 30 days, but like with a probate deal, it might mess around and be like 3 months. You feel me? So yeah, bro. How about you? What you working on?
My new money deal with mobile home investing, if you're not familiar, mobile home investing is buying and selling mobile homes for profit, right? Mobile homes, they're way more affordable than traditional real estate. So what mobile homes are, they're affordable residential homes that are built inside a factory. And once they're finished being built, they're transported on a large truck and they're set on land where they stay. So that's why they're called mobile homes, because you can literally pick it up and move it to another location. But typically, once your home is set somewhere, it doesn't move that often just because it costs so much to transport the home. It's a whole process. You can't just pick the home up and drive it to another location.
Right.
And if your mobile home is set in a mobile home park, you own the mobile home, you don't own the land that the home sits on. The land that the home sits on is called a lot. And to have your mobile home sitting on that lot, you have to pay lot rent every month. And that can vary from place to place, location, state to state, right? So it's important, to know the market and what the lot rent is going for. So a new deal that I recently closed was a deal that I found from a bandit sign. So with mobile home investing, we're looking for our leads through motivated sellers, right? Motivated sellers are people that are in situations where they need to sell their mobile home fast. And since they need to sell fast, they're willing to take a lower cash price from the home. So with this bandit sign, I met the seller, and the situation that they were in, they had their son was living in a home. She passed it down to her son. He didn't appreciate the home. He wasn't paying lot rent. And at this point, she was, getting her son out of the house and it was dirty. She just didn't feel like dealing with it anymore. And also, she didn't want to pay lot rent and she couldn't sell it because it needed that much work. So she found me through the bandit sign and I talked to her and I purchased the home for $2,000, right?
You lying.
$2,000, yeah. Because it's important when you're talking to these sellers to understand why they're motivated. That's important. So you can understand the situation and you can figure out how you can help them out. So I bought the home for $2,000, right? It was in a mobile home park. So the lot rent for that home was $650 a month, right? So since I do pay that $650 a month for the lot rent, I want to make sure that I'm handling the deal and I executed it in a timely manner, right? Because I have to pay that every month. So I bought it for $2,000. It needed new floors and it needed half the roof needed to be reshingled. So I bought the home for $2,000. For the floor, the material was around $1,000, and that included the 63 cents per square foot carpet, some subflooring, a couple 2x4s, and some sheet flooring for the kitchen and the bathroom. Okay. So that was $1,000. I paid my handyman $1,000 to do the work. So now I'm in $4,000.
Did you walk on this roof too? Because I know that's been your thing.
I didn't even get to the roof yet, but I did look at the roof so I could tell my handyman what to do, right? And when I looked at the roof, I realized that it only needed half the roof done, right?
Okay.
So for half the roof, the material was $500, and then I paid my handyman another $500 to reshingle it. So what I'm in, like $5,000.
Plus the lot rent, which is that
Plus the lot rent, the 650. So what was I? $5,000-$6,000. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just sold it for $22,000.
How many months it took you? So you only had to pay the lot rent once, or
Yeah, I only paid the lot rent once. Well, when I first buy the home, I have to pay the security deposit and the lot rent.
It's kind of like an apartment.
It's kind of like an apartment, right? So with the lot, you have to apply and pay monthly just like an apartment.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get that security deposit back. So if you do the math, I sold it for 22,000. So maybe I made around like 18,000 or something like that. And it was about 3 weeks, bro. Like a lot of my handymen that I work with, I work with them all the time. So they already know, what they're doing. They typically work every day. So they usually finish in about a week, sometimes faster. And it takes me about a week to find a buyer, and then it takes them a week to get approved by the park. So 3 weeks.
With finding a buyer, what you got, like a buyer's list you just shoot it out to with people that probably hit you up
Facebook.
before? Like what you
Yeah. I have a lot of different marketing channels that, I'll explain, on another episode. But yeah, I got a few channels. I'll put on the MLS. I can do different things like Facebook, Craigslist. I got a bunch of different strategies. I've been doing this for a while, so I do have buyers list that's already ready to buy.
Shoot it out to them.
Exactly.
Do you start marketing it once it's completed, or is that something that you're waiting until you get like the finished product, like it's completely renovated?
All right, that's a great question. So if I have some buyers that I know that are interested in this home specifically, I will let them know ahead of time that I have something, coming up, right? But I'm not really sending pictures or anything out until after it's finished,
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, and then after it's finished, of course, now I have the pictures, and then I'm sending out to old buyers and new buyers. But I do let previous buyers that were interested in other homes that I do have something coming up.
Good money, good money. So,
For sure.
what you just closed on?
All right. Well, before I get into my deal, I'm just gonna say like Lim's numbers and his margins, mobile home investing,
crazy,
undefeated. Because the turnaround time and what you're making is undefeated. So I'm definitely, tip my hat to you, proud of you, whatever. But all right. In regards to me, right, new money, right? I'm the Bird guy, Bird strategy. So like Lim did, I'll give a recap of what my real estate investment strategy entails, which is buy, renovate, or rehab, rent, refinance, and then the last R is repeat, right? So the last deal that I closed into completion is a deal that, like I stated on the previous episodes, right? Like I've been buying in the same zip code recently, right, in Maryland. I had a property actually on the same street. Across the street, maybe a few doors down. I saw the property, I found it on MLS. I more or less ended up locking it up. It actually sold above asking, like 5,000 above asking, right? Which I was kind of comfortable with because I knew what the property across the street already had appraised for, right? So that's kind of like the question mark with the Bird strategies, like what the property is going to be worth afterwards with the ARV or after repair value, due to the fact that like I already have had a house on that street, like I don't have to play the guessing game, right?
Talk numbers then. Why are you talking like?
Right. So the property that I had across the street appraised for 235. So that kind of was like my working number. I locked in this deal for 140. I put in about 10,000. When it refied at 245, right? Because it had a slightly bigger finished basement. And then in regards to rent, I put a Section 8 tenant in there with a voucher. We got like 2,200 on that value. And I recently closed the refinance. And then on the cash flow side, it's gonna do like 500 a door.
That's nasty.
That's after property management, water, all of my expenses.
That's a good deal.
It took me roughly 3 weeks to complete the rehab. Right? Like I stated on the rehab episode, I'm kind of doing the same renovations in regards to finishes, flooring, etc., paint color, things like that. So my guys kind of know exactly how to maneuver when they get a property.
I see you factored the property management to the deal. Do you do that with every deal?
Yeah, so like when I'm evaluating my deals, right? The main expenses that I'm factoring is my mortgage, right? Which includes principal insurance or P&I, taxes, And lastly, property management, which usually takes 8% of my gross rent amount.
You don't manage any properties yourself.
No, because I do not want anybody calling me telling me about their
feel that.
toilet.
I feel that.
It for
Respect.
me, like a lot of people when they initially start, right? A lot of people like to operate with the mindset like they'll manage their properties. For me personally, as you begin to like expand your business, right, or scale your business, right, you start to dealing with like different personalities, multiple different people. There's gonna be issues that arise. I just think
Right.
that property management is like a really good solution to that problem.
I feel that. So,
Now, I guess the caveat to that is like you have to have good property management. Some people are better than others, and
Right.
I have experienced, I guess, property management that I think that is like okay versus like what I would consider good. And the people that I do have or that I'm using for property management in Maryland, I would say is pretty good.
For sure.
so how
And
did, go ahead. Go ahead.
if I wanted to work hard, I would just have a job, 9 to 5, right? So the reason that we're in real estate investing is to free up our time and make money in our leisure where we don't have to work that hard. So property management, that's something that a tool that you can use to, make money with less work. That's
Yeah, I
what we're
mean,
doing it for.
like you mentioned, right? Like I still work, my regular 9 to 5
Mhm.
job. So property management pretty much allows or gives me the opportunity to have all the properties within that portfolio go to one person slash company,
Right.
and then for them to present all the issues to me at this one particular time, and then for me to be able to make a clear, level-headed decision based off the information that they're giving me.
It's tough.
Got you.
What was your question, Molly?
Mine was, how did you go about finding your tenant? I know like everybody be asking like, are you looking for your own tenant? Did your property manager look for your tenant? How did you get
So
that?
recently I've been utilizing like a tenant placement agency. Believe it or not, like the
Okay.
people I shot their page to you, but the people that I've been using recently, right? Like I found them on Instagram.
Yeah.
They had like a pretty good or pretty decent size like following, right? Like 50K.
Mm-hmm.
And their whole platform is based off the idea of like blasting out on social media, and then that's how they generate interest for their units. So I gave them a try. They found me a voucher within like a few days, and they have their own checklists in regards to all requirements for tenants and how they screen them. And then I had a few additional asks. So I guess like from being in the game and like, being a landlord for some time, I kind of know in regards to criteria of me approving tenants, what works for me and what doesn't.
Right.
And there's some unconventional means that I've seen some people take in regards to that approach that work better than others. So, like as an example, right? I worked with a tenant placement company in the past where one of the things that they did was they would ask tenants, they would actually take like a visit to tenants' properties,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or people that was interested once they submitted their paperwork, and like they would take a picture more or less or expect to see how they currently were treating their current property.
Let me see how you live now, because that's how you're gonna treat my property.
Right. So even if that person like lived in like they mom crib in a room, right? Like you keep your room clean,
For
right?
sure.
You'll probably treat Molly's house,
Nah, that's a
right?
fact.
Or probably keep that clean. And that was like one of their indicators if that was somebody that they should, accept as a tenant, or they should refer to a tenant to the end landlord.
It's good money, bro. I want to talk about one more deal I did. Well, I'm about to close on. Should be closing this Friday.
Okay.
So this was I found this one. It was through PPL, which is Paper Lead. So
Okay.
I use a bunch of companies for different stuff, different marketing and stuff like that. For this one, I use Lead Zolo. So for every 1 out of 10 leads that come through there, you should be closing. So with PPL. So a lot of people ask like, how many leads do I need to buy? Every 1 out of 10 is what I'm closing. And this one came through my pipeline. It was a distressed seller. She needed to sell extremely quickly because she had a family member in there not paying. So they did, I don't rent to no family members. I don't deal with no family members. But this one, I had to work through it because I had to do like a cash for keys to get them out of there. You know what I mean? They wasn't paying no rent. They living for free.
You got to explain cash for keys because that's something I'm sure that we've all used in the past.
So cash for keys is basically I gotta pay that tenant to get out. You know what I mean? When I'm doing deals where I gotta pay to get that tenant out, I never go past $5,000. And I always have some type of paperwork where it's an agreement with that tenant in place. So like with this one, it's a whole contract that say you're gonna be going by this day, and then I'll give you the money after that. I even got a notary that comes with me, a mobile notary that comes with me, that they sign, I sign. That way, it's an official piece of paper. You know what I mean? And I never give that money to them before. It's always after. So like with this deal, on my underlying contract with the seller, I put basically I'm gonna recoup that money back. I put in, they know what I'm gonna do. Because they don't have the money or the means to pay that person that money. So in my underlying contract with the seller, I said, I'm gonna spend this amount of money to get this tenant out of there. And then, I'm gonna get that back on the back end on the HUD. So
Mm,
yeah.
solution minded. I like that.
You get what I'm saying?
It's not about problem solution. Another note, I guess, to the audience, right? Like when you are dealing with cash for keys, make sure y'all change those locks.
Yeah. So exactly. So they gotta get out of there by Wednesday, Thursday. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna change the locks. I'm gonna board it back up, and then I'm giving them like $3,000, something like that. I'm gonna board it up. That way, my buyer already got a buyer lined up. He's gonna, do their final walkthrough, and then we'll close Friday.
Okay.
But they're not getting my certified check from me until they're out of there. I'm changing the locks, boarding up everything, and then we go from there. So I had to find that motivated seller found me through PPL. Well, I paid for that lead. I solved their problem, which is what a wholesaler's supposed to do. And I put in my underlying agreement with the seller that whatever I spend up to $5,000 to get that tenant out, I'm gonna recoup that money. You know what I mean? So the deal got, like, when you're doing cash for keys, it gotta make sense for me to make a nice amount of profit because I'm putting my money on the line to get that tenant out of there. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Lee Zolo, 1 out of 10 leads. That's how I got this one. Cash for keys. Put that contract with them, and we should be closing. I should be making a nice little check and recouping my money that I spent to get that tenant out of there.
All right.
Okay.
Len, what you got on the table?
All right, so I got a deal right now where the seller found me because they were already evicted from the park already, right?
Okay.
So with mobile homes, it's through a title, right? So
Mhm.
once you're evicted from the park, the title of the mobile home is still in your name, right? So for the park to actually get the title, you have to go through a process which can take about 8 months for the park to actually have the title in their name,
So a title like a car, because we do stuff through a title company, but that's not
like a
what you-
car.
Okay.
Like a car. Mobile home titles is the same as a car. You have a
Gotcha.
title, your name is, on the title claiming that you own that mobile home. So a lot of times if you can get, once someone is evicted, if you can get to the park before they go through that process, before they actually have ownership of the title, you can make a deal and you could close the deal fast, and it's usually more in your benefit because now the park didn't have to pay money to go through that process to get the title. So nevertheless, the woman found me and she already was evicted. So at this point, she has no leverage. She lost the home. She wasn't going to get anything for the home. So I went to the park and I negotiated the woman's back lot rent. So I told the park, hey, I noticed she owes, I think she owed like $5,000, in back lot rent. So I told the park, I said, hey, I'll give you $3,000, of her back lot rent. And now you can start, getting lot rent from me immediately. And you don't have to go through that whole court process. So they agreed for me to pay $3,000 for the woman's back lot rent. And then I went to her and I gave her $300 to sign over the title. Right. So I got that for $3,300. And the home really didn't need a lot of work. It just was dirty. So I paid someone $500 just to clean out all her old stuff, clean it up. She had a pipe that was clogged. I unclogged the pipe. That was like another $200. And then we fixed a couple holes in the wall, which was another, $200. So I was in the home probably, I'm in the home right now. I think it's around like $5,000, if that, around like five, if that. And I'm gonna put it on the market soon,
Okay.
probably in 2 days.
Okay.
And I'm looking to shoot for around like 25 or something like that. See what we got. So That's something
I,
good
I
I'm
might
working
need to
on.
start
Yeah,
investing
once
in
again,
mobile
Lim with the
homes,
undefeated
bro.
numbers and undefeated
Nah,
timelines.
nah.
I get it, bro.
Nah, what you
Nah,
got
for
going
sure.
on, bro?
All right, so current money, right? New money. I got a deal scheduled to close 5 days. Well, a week from now. It's supposed to close next Tuesday, right? So by the time this airs, I should be at the closing table. But it's funny, like you mentioned probates, because that's exactly how I got this property. So I found the deal through Facebook, like through investors group. I saw the address once again, right? Like zip code that I want to
Mhm.
be in. I reached out to it was a wholesaler that had the deal. We messaged through Facebook. He like his number was his number, kind of agreed to it, right? Because I knew that the ARV was nice. There's an agent that I do a lot of business with. I kind of used him as a cross reference because this zip code is different. I'm familiar with the zip code, but it hasn't been where I've been buying recently. He actually owns a few rentals himself in that particular zip. So he told me like, yeah, bro, green light, like that's where you want to be. I ran my numbers for like 220. He told me that he recently got appraisal at 240, right? So the deal made sense. I locked it in for 135.
Okay.
Um, I shot the pictures to y'all. Like the property, it might need paint. Like
Yeah, I remember
right,
that
like
joint.
me, and it's crazy because somebody was living in. They passed. You could tell like the house was lived in and it was well maintained. Yeah, 135 might need some paint, if that.
Sound like a layup.
Yeah, I ran my numbers for rent on the Section 8 website. I'm looking at like 2,200 on the low end. Values, we'll see what the appraisal comes back at. But yeah, it should cash flow when I ran my numbers anywhere from mid sixes to 500 after property management and all my expenses. So we'll see how it goes. We
Good
close it
money.
out and that'll be another unit in the portfolio.
That's what's up, man. We're not just teaching investing. We really in the field today, tomorrow, the year after that, the year before that,
Yeah.
and we still making money and we still closing deals. That's what's
Yeah. For
important.
those of y'all asking like when you should buy, now.
Right now,
That's a
yesterday,
fact.
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yesterday's price is not today's price, right?
That's a fact.
All right, Lim, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Young Lim on Instagram. Most importantly, follow the Money Room Pod on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're giving out a lot of free game. You do not want to miss any insights.
You can find me on Instagram at Marley5. Ask me any questions in regards to wholesaling. You know, if you're looking to buy, put you on my buyers list and we get to work.
All right. Y'all can find me at Living Good Ant. Like Lim said, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all tap into the course that we put together that kind of encompasses all 3 investment strategies. Learn something, and we appreciate y'all for tapping in.